there and welcome to Cannonball Diva Chronicles, where uplifting the downtrodden is our focus. I'm Cannonball Diva. I'm a nurse practitioner and an ICU nurse with 20 years of experience and also some experience in narcissistic recovery and abuse. Today I'd like to talk about some of the traits that you find in people in a relationship, usually a consensual or a marital relationship, and those traits that make maybe some arguments flare out of control or become uncontrollable. It's sort of like a conflict resolution. One of them is being judgmental. When someone is judgmental in a relationship, they tend to look outward. They don't look inward. They look at the person who they believe is committing an offense against them, and they become very harsh in their judgment against that person. And usually, this is someone who considers themselves to be without any kind of errors in their behavior. And for someone to be judgmental, it is very painful for the partner or the receiving person to receive such judgment, because most times they can be very unfair judgments. The Bible tells us that not to judge each other so that we ourselves are not judged by God. And being judgmental and looking at where people fall short is usually what causes conflicts to go out of control, because many times you find that people exaggerate these faults that they see in their partners. It is better not to address it by being judgmental. It is better to be approachable and kind when telling people of where you believe they fall short, if you really love them. Some other things you see in relationships like that is being someone that finds it hard to have maybe conflict resolution strategies when your partner does something against you, or you believe they've done something that you don't like in the relationship. It's better not to bring up things that have happened years ago, like things that you believe happened many years or months or even days ago, while addressing the present situation, because the present situation in and of itself can be dealt with at that moment, and then you can just make a plan to not repeat it again to each other. Once you guys have mentioned it and addressed it and forgiven each other, then you can move on from there, forgetting about this, knowing that you're giving your partner a chance to either make up for the mistake they've made with the promise that it won't repeat itself. Because like I said in the past, we are all humans and nobody's above mistake. It only becomes a problem when you believe that your partner keeps repeating the same mistakes against you. And that in itself shows you that they lack respect for you. Because it's only someone that lacks respect for you that keeps repeating the same mistakes and turns around and expects you not to have any bad feelings, or turns around and expects you to forgive them or keep forgiving them and keep repeating the same thing millions of times, only to turn around and expect you as a human being to keep forgiving them. When someone who is toxic commits an offense against you, you find that that is usually the case. They repeat the same thing over and over against you, and they pretend that it's by error, and they expect you to have a superhuman ability to forgive them. And if you're a good person, or someone with a loving heart, and you just want to keep forgiving them, because if you're a Christian and those are the values of a Christian, to forgive each other, and you want to keep forgiving them because you want to be in a good light, you want to be in a good place with God, and you don't want to hold any grudges or hold any animosity against your partner. Some toxic people take advantage of this knowledge, knowing that you will keep forgiving and forgiving and forgiving. Then what do you now as a person do, knowing that they're taking advantage of that idea and that knowledge that you're good, you're inherently a good person, and you would want to forgive them? Do you keep forgiving and forgiving that same person for that same infraction against you, or do you then decide not to forgive them? And as a Christian and someone who believes in God and the principles of the Bible, what do you then do? Do you hold a grudge against that person? Does the Bible not tell us to forgive 7 times 70 times? Or 70 times 7 times, or how many times whatsoever? Because God is not expecting you to keep counting how many times somebody commits an offense against you. So if you are multiplying how many times someone has done that, then that becomes the problem. The whole idea is to just keep forgiving no matter how much someone does against you. But that is exactly the fact that is being taken advantage of by the toxic person. They know that you are a good person and that you will keep forgiving them. When you, as a person who believes in being good to other people, does something against them which they consider to be an offense, they don't forgive. They keep hounding you for years and months and days, and on it goes. So many times you find that Even though you have apologized about that infraction or offense you committed against them, they bring it up again when something else comes up that they feel has been done against them. They bring up that old offense. They bring out that old idea of what you did against them, and they keep repeating it over and over again to you. So they keep opening up old wounds, and they keep rehashing things that they believe have been done against them, so that you now find it hard to let go of that idea that they have not forgiven you, and you keep having to apologize for something that happened years and years ago. The toxic partner does not care that you are being tortured by that same thing. How many times can one person apologize over one thing that they did? No one is perfect, obviously. So how many times do you repeat that same offense over and over again for someone who believes that something was done against them? That is how you find out that that's a toxic trait. Someone who finds it hard to forgive, someone who is judgmental, and someone who brings up conflict from nothing. Sometimes conflict occurs when a partner decides to make a big deal over little things that happen, or make a quarrel out of something that should not be quarreled about. If you find that someone is always bringing up bad things that happened in history, bad things that happened to them, two of you, and bringing up things that would make you sad, instead of remembering the good that has happened between the both of you, they bring out the bad, and they are always accusing you, or putting you in a position to always want to apologize, or putting you in a position that makes you feel like you have done something wrong, even though this thing happened many and many years ago, and that you are forced to now live it up again, or live through that again, and have to apologize over that again, or simply just use that as an excuse to attack you so that you don't notice the ills they're doing against you, so that you're quiet about the present ills they're doing against you, because they're reminding you of something you did to them in the past. So they use that as a tool and a weapon to keep abusing you, in a sense, so that you don't feel you have the right to bring up the things, the offenses that they commit against you. So in other words, that becomes a tool in their hands. So they use one tool in their hands against you for many years. That is a very toxic trait. And if you notice these traits that I've mentioned, these few traits I've mentioned in your partner or in your relationship, it is time to address it, because it never gets better. It only gets worse. I hope these few pointers will help anyone in any relationship that is going through difficulties. Address some of these traits one at a time and bring them up to light, because anything that's hidden in darkness is hard to be addressed in the light. When light is shone upon some of these things, it's easier to deal with it as opposed to sweeping it under the carpet. Thank you so much for tuning in to Cannonball Diva Chronicles today. I hope you have a blessed day. Thank you, and have a blessed day. Bye.